Is Texas silencing black voters? Are black Texans being mapped out of their own power? Follow Texas Black History. Texas just redrew its congressional districts. Republicans gained 5 more seats, increasing their hold from 25-13 to 38. But here's the catch. 95% of Texas's population growth came from black, Latino, and Asian people. Yet 0 new majority-minority districts were added. None. That has civil rights groups crying foul and filing lawsuits. They say it's textbook gerrymandering, breaking up black voting blocks, cracking, or stuffing them into one district, packing. The goal? To weaken political influence. So what are the real pros and cons here? PROS, according to supporters, reflects political trends and population shifts, encourages competition between parties. Maps follow geography, not race. Redistricting is legally allowed every 10 years. Cons, according to critics, dilutes black and minority voting power, undermines fair representation despite population growth, reinforces one-party control, sparks voter distrust and legal battles. Is this about geography or about race? Who gets to draw the lines and who gets erased? Do you think this map is fair or is it a power grab? Comment your thoughts, follow for updates, and help protect black voices at the ballot.
This is hilarious.
We did it, you guys. We did it. The Texas Senate ended up passing the redistricting map for Texas. Texas. Woo! Texas, baby. That's what MAGA is currently doing in all of these videos, talking about this redistricting map. What the MAGA Knights don't know, just like when normal bills are passed in the House and in the Senate, you know, in Washington, it still needs to pass both, you guys. So the Texas Senate officially passed this bill, right, for the redistricting. That was a given because they have the numbers to do it. But the Texas House does not have the numbers to do it, and that's why those Democrats ended up leaving the state, so that they can stop this vote from taking place. Because, as I indicated, just like when you're trying to pass the big bills in Washington, D.C., it still needs to pass the House and the Senate for the bill to actually go through. Just a little FYI for y'all. So Texas hasn't done anything. It still needs to pass the Texas House Committee.
Under this map, white Texans receive 1 member of Congress for every 445,000 residents. If you're Hispanic, it takes about 1.4 million residents for that same representation. If you are black, it takes 2 million. In this proposal, a Hispanic Texan has 1/3 the political value of a white Texan under this plan, and a black Texan 1/5. It would take 3 Hispanics to equal the representation of 1 white Texan and 5 black Texans to equal the value of 1 white Texan.
The problem that we are seeing right now is that our current president and his administration is explicitly saying that we want to change the rules of the game midstream in order to insulate ourselves from the people's judgment. They want to change around the maps, not the way it's always been done every 10 years after a census. They want to do it before any election in which they're worried they might lose. They want to tinker around with it to see if they can give themselves an advantage. And it's brazen. They're not pretending that there's some other rationale to it. They're simply doing it because they think they can. And in those circumstances, I could not be more appreciative of the work that Governor Newsom and the people of California are doing in saying, stop. This is not how American democracy is supposed to operate. And that's what Prop 50 is about. And it has critical implications, not just for California, but for the entire country.
I want to do a video where I want to comment on this racially motivated white nationalist Republican controlled gerrymandering of the state of Texas.
Did you know that under the new Republican-drawn congressional maps in the state of Texas, that the black vote is 1/5 the power of the white vote? Texas Representative Vance Perez says that now in Texas, it's going to take 2 million black voters in order to elect one representative. And it's going to take 445,000 white Texans to elect one representative. Let's think about that. He says that Texas is nearly 60% people of color. He says, and I quote, despite nearly 60% of Texans being people of color and 95% of the state's population growth coming from communities of color, the new maps let white Texans control 26 of 38 congressional seats. He calls this the 3/5 compromise. He says it's the modern-day version of inflating white political power while silencing communities of color. As you know, the state of California has a redistricting election coming up November 4th. Now, based on this story, you can see that the state of Texas is doing what they want to do. They're not asking the people. The state of California is asking us, what do you want to do? Should we redraw the congressional maps? And that's why we're having the election on November 4th. I don't know about you, but this whole map drawing business in Texas seems super
And where they're trying to disenfranchise black voters by redistricting. Now, we're not, as an African American, we know that we have got to hold our voting rights very, very, very precious to us, and we've got to be ready to defend our rights because this is the white nationalists in this country. Their two greatest fears is black people becoming educated and black people going to the voting booth. That has always been their Achilles heel. Educated black people and black people that vote. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate large portions of the Texas African American electorate by redistricting the strongholds where Democrats rightfully should control those areas because of the population there. And they're trying to break them up so that Republicans will have the control over who's elected in those districts. Okay?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I have to make sure I don't get in trouble back home in Texas. So let me be really clear. These maps, racist. The fact that they are trying to silence black and minority voters in a majority minority state, racist. Pulling all of the economic engines out of certain districts, also racist. The bottom line is this is a Republican-led and racist attempt to make sure that we silence the voices of black and brown people. Now, I want to give y'all some numbers because I don't think that y'all fully understand how bad this is. Texas, number one, has more African Americans than any other state in this country. Right now, under the proposed maps, they want to make it to where Texas only has 2 districts in which African Americans have an opportunity to choose their representation. What does that mean for black voices in Texas? That means that it is approximately 1/5 the voting strength of their white Texan neighbors. That is what it's going to be. Not 3/5, but we are going to be reduced to 1/5. So my colleagues have laid out a number of things that they believe is going on as to why it is that this is happening. But I'm going to start with number one, Trump himself. He's racist. I've been saying that. I said that during the campaign. Anybody that would adopt the objectives of Project 2025 truly believes in a racist ideology. But also, he has been very clear about retribution. Retribution because black people had the audacity to have some sense and didn't want to go back to a time where black unemployment was at a historic high like it is right now. Retribution because black people didn't want even less access to health care in a country that continues to have an abysmal maternal mortality rate as it relates to black women. Retribution, because black people didn't want to endure a supercharged police state like we are seeing with the invasion of black-run.
Now, here's how it usually works. Every 10 years, by order of the Constitution, there is a census done. And the census determines where the population's at, what is the demographics of the population. Are they white, black, Hispanic, Asian, blah, blah, blah. And then once they compute those numbers, and then they come in and say, well, wait a minute, hold it. This area here should be expanded because of the demographics, because this is a predominantly Democratic or predominantly black area, and it's grown in size in proportion by maybe 100,000 people. So therefore that area is representing more people, and therefore it's entitled to more representatives in the state and in particular federal governments. What they're doing is the Republicans are coming in 5 years after the census and saying, because of that clown in the White House, and came up with a plan that let's go in, let's redistrict, and let's take these black people's votes from them. Let's water down these districts so that they will vote potentially Republican, so they can get 5 new seats.
Texas just redrew its political maps, and it's not about fairness, it's about silencing black and brown voices. In August 2025, Republicans pushed through a rare mid-decade redistricting. Normally, maps are only redrawn after the census, but this time it was backed by Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott with the goal of adding more GOP seats. Here's how it works. These maps crack and pack communities of color. This means splitting voters across district or crowding them all into one so their power shrinks, while white rural districts grow stronger. So when you break it down by numbers, for every 5 black voters, the map gives them the same weight as just 1 white voter. It takes 3 Latino voters to equal the same as 1 single white vote. That's not representation, that's suppression. Even though 95% of Texas's population growth came from people of color, these new maps actually weaken their influence. If the 2024 election had been held under this plan, Trump would have carried nearly 80% of the districts, despite winning just 56% of the statewide vote. Communities in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and South Texas are being dismantled. Black and brown districts that once had a voice are disappearing, and lawsuits are already calling this unconstitutional. Bottom line, these maps don't reflect the people of Texas. They're designed to silence black and brown voices and lock in white political power for years to come. Democracy only works when every vote counts equally, and right now in Texas, it doesn't.
In the House. Now, let me say this. A lot of Democratic states have come over and they've taken these redistricting bodies that sit down and do the redistrict. They've made them non-political, non-party affiliated, and independent, where they come in and they look at the numbers and they say, okay, the line should be redrawn. So that's one of the things that the Democrats have done in a lot of their states. Not all of them. Republicans, 0. Okay? So basically what these white nationalists are coming out, they're so bold that they're coming out and they're saying, the hell with the norms, the hell, we're going to get these seats because we're going to hold power. Period. If you don't like it, that's your problem, because we're in charge and we're going to do whatever the hell we want to do. And if you don't like it, that's your problem. Shut the hell up. Okay, so now the Democrats have an opportunity to stand up and fight fire with fire. Right now, California, New York, hopefully the state of Maryland, and other strong Democratic states with Democratic leadership should be redistricting right now. Right now. They should be going about it right now, redistricting anywhere where there's a strong Republican constituency. It should be redistrict so that Democrats are the majority in those areas. Now, this is what the Republicans are doing. They started this shit. They started this shit. Now, either Democrats are going to respond in kind, or you're going to get screwed on midterm elections. It's up to the Democrats. You can stand term elections. It's up to the Democrats. You can stand up and say, we're not taking no more of your Republican far right wing Christian nationalist, white racist government where you have taken over this country.
Hello, Bobby Cole here. Recently, in answering criticism about the new proposed Republican congressional maps that will take away power and representation from particularly Black and Latino communities, Republican Representative Cody Vasut said the map was not done as a racist move, but done for political gain.
Seen all of these blue states overperform with their maps and Texas is underperforming. That puts Republicans at a distinct disadvantage nationwide, and it's right for Texas to step up. So I have not seen any evidence that this map was racially based. What I have seen is evidence that this map was politically based, and that's totally legal, totally allowed, and totally fair. So, frankly, don't care what the DOJ letter said, and I think it's pretty clear that no one does.
Well, that tells us a lot, Cody. Thanks to Texas Democrats for fighting for justice and defending democracy no matter where it needs to be done or how far.
And you want to hold power even if it's against the will of the people. We need to stand up for the country, for the republic, and for our people. And say, you're not taking black votes nowhere. But if you do it in Texas, that's fine, because we'll do it in every Democratic state in the union.
Y'all, remember those maps, those racially gerrymandered maps that they're doing here in Texas? Well, it looks like it's about to pass through. Monday, I was just in Arlington talking about how we don't need to do this. And plus, we don't even have a map. Less than 24 hours after, more about 48 hours after that Monday hearing, they dropped the maps on Wednesday. And we were correct. They're totally destroying the black and brown congressional districts here in Texas. Even removing Mark Vesey from Fort Worth all the way out of his district, putting that into Dallas, removing Jasmine Crockett out of her district, removing Al Green out of his district, and compacting it in Houston all in one district for the black people, and creating a highly overpopulated Hispanic district. When you pack black and brown people in one district, that's literally called packing. And then you're cracking up these other districts, so you have less numbers of black or brown people in those districts. That's called cracking, that are illegal and against the Voting Rights Act and the Equal Protection Clause. So on Friday, they had a public hearing having over 400 people to sign up to testify, while over 300 testified against this bill to stop it. And then less than 24 hours after that hearing, when all these people said, we don't want these maps, the committee decided to push through the maps and vote for it to be hit to the Texas floor.
Texas Republicans just shared their plans to disenfranchise millions of voters, revealing their newly proposed congressional maps that significantly reshape 2 North Texas districts represented by Democrats. States are meant to go through redistricting every 10 years based on U.S. Census data. But thanks to pressure from President Donald Trump to flip 5 Texas districts to Republicans ahead of the 2026 midterms, Governor Greg Abbott added redistricting to his special session agenda, which began on July 21st. In DFW, Districts 32 and 33, represented by Representatives Julie Johnson and Mark Vesey, would change significantly under the new map. Johnson has called the new map a, quote, disaster and corrupt racist power grab. Currently, her District 32, which represents parts of Dallas, Collin, and Denton counties, is known as a Democratic stronghold. But under the new map, her district would stretch into several rural areas, including Rockwall, Hunt, Rains, Wood, Upshur, and Camp counties, all of which are dominated by Republicans. The district currently has a non-white voting age population of about 63%, which would decrease by 16% under the new map. In Fort Worth, VC's district is also under attack. Under the current map, 74% of voters typically vote Democrat, but if the new map is adopted, that number drops to 65%. The new map also cuts Tarrant County, VC's hometown, out of the district entirely, and changes the non-white voting age population from 84% to 73%. These changes could force Johnson to run against VC in his newly redrawn district. In South Dallas, the proposed map lessens Democratic representation by packing more minority voters into already existing Democratic strongholds. Representative Jasmine Crockett's District 30 is 4% less white under the proposed map. The 30-day special session is scheduled to end on August 19th, meaning lawmakers only have a few weeks to finish the redistricting process, which typically takes months. A Texas House committee will hold a public hearing about the new map on Friday, August 1st. Be sure to follow Courier Texas for more.
Quick chat about what's happening in Texas right now, because it's not just about redistricting, it's about rigging our democracy as a whole. Trump literally called Greg Abbott, said, "Find me 5 seats," and Texas Republicans are doing exactly that. They are redrawing congressional maps mid-decade, which almost never happens, to flip 5 Democratic seats to Republican. Analysis shows that under these proposed maps, Hispanic voters would have roughly 1/3 the political weight of white voters. Black voters, their votes would have only 1/5 the power of a white vote. Let me say that again. Your vote will count differently based on your race. They're using 2 main tactics called packing and cracking. Packing means stuffing as many Democratic voters, especially voters of color, into as few districts as possible. Cracking means splitting up communities that would normally vote together for one candidate across multiple districts so that their candidate won't win. Take a look at Austin. They're connecting parts of the city to rural areas over 300 miles away. These 2 communities, they have nothing in common. Republicans just need the city votes to be diluted. This isn't theoretical. It is literally happening right now. We're talking about your representatives who make decisions about your healthcare, education, reproductive rights, climate action, all the—
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, yes, you watching from your phone while ignoring your group chat. Today, you're not just scrolling. You're seated on the bench of democracy. The defendant in this case is the state of Texas, and the charge? Attempted murder of fair elections with a deadly weapon called racial gerrymandering. Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas GOP just cooked up a redistricting plan that is alleged to be so racially gerrymandered, it looks like it was drawn with a burning cross. Let me break this case down real clear for you, because this isn't just about Texas. This is about what could become the blueprint for minority voter suppression in America. I'm Legally Hype, your legal plug. But before we keep going, make sure you like and subscribe for more legal news. Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas GOP are being accused of trying to cheat in the 2026 midterms. Again. And not subtle cheating. Not even sneaky cheating. We're talking out in the open, grab the map and redraw to favor yourself like it's coloring book day in hell type cheating. All because President Donald Trump told them to in an effort to keep Republican control in the House of Representatives. Abbott called a special session to redraw Texas's congressional map. Not because of new census data that was already done, but because Republicans want 5 more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Not 5 earned seats.
Well, I'm up at the crack of dawn because we have to go fight fascism. I wish I were joking, but I'm about to get on one of these buses chartered by Representative Jasmine Crockett, head to Austin to let our lawmakers know that you can't just rewrite our districts without having our say. They're trying to do 2 things. Number 1, they're trying to just wipe some of our districts off the map. They're saying, oh, let's put these 2 districts together so you have 1 less seat in Congress. 1 less seat means 1 less vote. 1 less vote means that when Trump comes through trying to put his little initiatives together that negatively impact people that look like us, a little bit easier. The second thing they're trying to do is crack and pack the districts. What does that mean? They're trying to take pockets of people that wouldn't be voting for them and go shove them in districts that would, so that their votes don't count as much and that their voice doesn't matter. Because their grand supreme wizard dictator Donald Trump told them to. It's no other reason. Quite frankly, I'm over it. I'm over it. It's 4:00 in the morning. Do you think I want to be going to Austin right now to tell people things that they obviously know? Fascism, bad. You know that. Oh, Lord help.
5 manufactured ones. Texas Republicans are being accused of cooking up a new district map so rigged, it should come with a warning label. May contain traces of democracy. And guess who gets drawn out of their own district? Representative Jasmine Crockett, a loud, proud, black Democratic leader, just magically no longer lives in the place she represents. And Texas said, oops, new map, who this? One could surely argue this isn't democracy. This is political plastic surgery with a scalpel soaked in voter suppression and racism. But wait, how do we even get here? Let me take you back for a moment. See, in 1965, after years of lynching, literacy tests, and poll taxes, we got the Voting Rights Act, a landmark civil rights legislation designed to stop exactly this kind of racial discrimination at the polls. But in 2013, the Supreme Court basically said, racism? Oh no, it's over. We fixed it. We're good now. So they gutted the Voting Rights Act federal oversight powers. Specifically, the part that blocks states like Texas from doing things like drawing congressional maps so that black and brown minorities have little to no voting power. And now we're watching the consequences in real time because racial gerrymandering, drawing districts to minimize the power of black and brown voters is not just a dirty trick. It's illegal. Okay? It's unconstitutional. And it's as American as voter suppression itself. Let me explain.
Things that affect your daily life. When your vote is systematically devalued, you lose your voice in those decisions. 4 districts were already flagged by the Justice Department as unconstitutional racial gerrymanders. Instead of fixing that, they are making it worse. You've probably seen that Gavin Newsom, the California governor, is fighting fire with fire. California is putting a ballot measure up in November that would let them redraw their own maps to flip 5 Republican seats to Democratic. And honestly, good. I know you're probably thinking, but isn't gerrymandering bad no matter who does it? And yes, you're right. It is. But when one side is completely dismantling fair representation, sometimes you have to level the playing field to save democracy. What we actually need overall is a federal ban on gerrymandering, period. The Freedom to Vote Act would do exactly that, but Republicans blocked it. We need redistricting to be handled by independent commissions, not by politicians handpicking their voters. But until that happens, we can't let Republicans rig the system unopposed while Democrats play by rules that no longer exist. So here's what you can do right now. For the online activists or those who can't get out of the house right now, contact your representatives about supporting federal redistricting reform. Share information about what's happening. The Brennan Center and Campaign Legal Center have great resources that you can check out and share. For those ready to get involved locally in person, find your state's chapter of Common Cause, League of Women Voters, or All on the Line. They're organizing around fair redistricting in every state. If you're in Texas, support the Democrats who walked out to deny quorum. Support Nicole Collier in her act of protest. Donate to local organizations that are fighting these maps in court. If you're in California, learn about Proposition 50 that's coming up in November. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. When politicians try to choose their voters instead of voters choosing their politicians, we have to fight back, and we have to fight back hard. This is about making sure every vote counts equally, regardless of who you are or where you live. That's not radical. That's democracy.
I was really hoping it wouldn't get to this point. But we got to talk about this. This gerrymandering in Texas, it's out of control, man. Look at what they're doing. Now, I know not everybody's good at math, but this is what this gerrymandering is doing. Now, this is the estimate that it's going to take 445,000 white residents to secure one member of Congress, right? But also, and it's now going to take 1.4 million Latino residents. And even more egregious, it's now going to take about 2 million black residents to secure one member of Congress. So, as in terms of political value, so now the Latino resident in Texas now has 1/3 the political value of a white person. Takes 3 of their votes to equal 1 white vote. And black people. I know we all went through history classes, slavery, 3/5 of a man. 3/5. 3/5. Look at this. 1/5. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. So now black people have 1/5 the political value of a white person. 5 white votes equals 1 white. 5 black votes equals 1 white vote. What the fuck are we doing?